In today's video, we are going to be talking about flight cancellation compensation. This video is going to explore useful tips that will help you save costly changes, unexpected expenses, and more. So make sure you stick around for that. Flight cancellations happen, but if they are avoidable, you may be eligible for compensation for your inconvenience under EC 261. Under EC 261, airlines are required to give you 14 days notice if your flight is canceled, and if they don't, then you may be eligible for compensation depending on your flight, distance, destination, and more. Additionally, even if they get you on another flight, if the arrival time varies significantly, at least 3 hours, from when you were originally set to arrive, then you also meet the criteria to file under EC 261. What circumstances apply? EC 261 is powerful, but unfortunately for passengers, it doesn't apply to all flights, just ones flying in the European Union or European airspace. Your flight must have had a touchpoint in the EU to qualify, mostly taking off, though some arriving flights will qualify depending on the airline carrier. Cancelled flights under EC 261. EC 261 applies in the European Union and select European airspace, but if you're flying in different countries, there may be other regulations that apply. These include the Montreal Convention, Brazilian ANA AC 400, and U.S. passenger laws. EC 261 has set the standard for how airline passengers should be treated when they face a delay, cancellation, denied boarding, and more. Length of delay. When your flight is canceled, the first thing you think of likely isn't the length of the delay, but shift your perspective. Your original flight is canceled, but you're working to get on another flight. Take the time you would have arrived and compare it to your new arrival time. That counts as the length of your delay. What compensation can I get? EC 261 spells out very clear guidelines for the compensation you can claim under its regulations. It is a set fee that's outlined based on the time of delay, distance, and location of your flight. If your flight was canceled within 14 days of your planned departure, you are also eligible for compensation. Now, these only apply if it's within the airline's control. As your flight is canceled, the airline must work with you to get to your final destination. They can offer you a new flight, and it should be as close to your original arrival time as possible, even if it's on another carrier. What flights are covered? Keep in mind that most routes in the European Union are covered, even the outermost regions that most people don't think of when they think of Europe. These include the Canary Islands, Madeira and the Azores, French Guiana and Martinique, Mayotte, Guadeloupe and La Réunion, and Saint Martin. Iceland, Norway, and Switzerland's airspace are also part of EC 261, even if they aren't part of the EU proper. What flights are not covered? If you're flying on a non-EU-based carrier, then the likelihood that your flight is not covered under EC 261 is slightly higher. To qualify for EC 261, the most important detail about your flight is that it must have some touchpoint in the European Union or qualifying airspace. Even if you are, there are some circumstances that could disqualify you from filing a claim, namely if you are facing extraordinary circumstances. These are things that are outside of the airline's control but still impact its ability to operate. This includes extreme weather, airport strikes, political unrest, and more. What are my rights? One of the best parts of EC 261 is that it clearly states what your rights are. No longer do you have to wonder what you can receive during the cancellation process. It's all spelled out. After you get to your destination, you can worry about filing other claims, including your right to compensation. Ultimately, you are protected when you fly in the EU thanks to EC 261, and your rights depend on the circumstances surrounding your cancellation. Flight refund or rerouting. Initially, you have 3 choices when it comes to flight cancellations, and you make your choices long before you start thinking about compensation under EC 261, so it shouldn't complicate the matter. First, you should be offered a full or partial refund of your ticket. If you're in the middle of your trip, you can claim compensation for the unused portion of your trip. If you want to return home, you should also be offered a return flight. You have the choice to terminate your trip right there if the new flight will not be convenient. Next, the alternate flight they propose should be the earliest possible alternative transportation to your final destination. In most cases, this will be the next flight the airline can offer. However, in some cases, it may be through another airline or even a bus or train. Lastly, if you prefer to go at a later date, they should issue you a new ticket to the same final destination at a later date of your choosing. You have the choice of when you want to arrive at your final destination, though, of course, this is subject to availability. They're not going to bump someone off a flight because of a canceled flight. How to file a claim. Once you get your details settled about your canceled flight, it's time to file a claim under EC 261. If you do not file a claim, you will not get additional compensation. You can submit a claim yourself directly through the airline, or you can work with a specialized company that can help you receive the compensation you deserve. Filing yourself is exactly as it seems. You gather your documentation and submit it directly to their customer service. Their teams will review your claim to determine if it is valid or not, and often, they will try to reject it on a technicality to avoid paying out. You can file an appeal, but you're at the airline's mercy when you try to navigate EC 261 claims yourself. Documentation needed. The more documentation you can gather, the better, so as soon as you learn your flight has been canceled, start collecting. Your future self will thank you. Some of the documentation that you can collect includes travel documents, vouchers, boarding passes, and anything else that proves your flight has been canceled. Take a picture of the flight board if you're already in the airport of the line that says your flight is canceled, or screenshot any communication you receive. Keep any receipts of any incremental costs that you incurred as a result, including meals, toiletries, clothing, transportation, hotels, and more, if the airline has not already provided you with vouchers for these materials. You have rights if your flights are canceled, so make sure that you understand what you're entitled to directly from the airline as a result of your inconvenience and under EC 261. This regulation protects passenger rights when they travel in many European countries, so all that's left is to file a claim. So that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to know more about flight cancellation compensation, check the link in the description box below. That will take you to the euflightcompensation.com's webpage, where we have discussed this topic in more detail. Do you have any comments or questions? Make sure to drop them below and like this video if you found it useful. Till next time, thanks for watching.